There's a weight you've been carrying that nobody sees. It's not dramatic enough to talk about at church, not urgent enough to share with friends, but heavy enough to wake you up at 3 in the morning, staring at the ceiling, calculating numbers that never quite add up. You're not asking for abundance, you're not dreaming of luxury, you're simply asking for enough. Enough to breathe. Enough to stop the quiet panic that lives in your chest every time an unexpected bill arrives. And maybe you've wondered if God sees this silent struggle, if He knows what it feels like to count pennies and pray over bank accounts, to trust Him while your hands are shaking. Today, you're not alone in this room. Today, this prayer is for you. Not someday, today. I want you to know something that might sound too simple to be true, but stay with me because it changes everything. God didn't design you to carry tomorrow's worries with today's strength. He didn't create you to solve next month's problems while you're still standing in the middle of this week. When you look at your life right now, at the bills stacked on the kitchen counter, at the numbers in your bank account that make your stomach tight, at the unexpected expenses that seem to arrive exactly when you can't handle one more thing, I need you to hear this. God is not asking you to figure out the entire year. He's asking you to trust Him for today. Just today. And I know that sounds small, maybe even insufficient when you're looking at everything you need to handle, but this is where real faith lives. Not in the big, dramatic moments we talk about in testimonies, but in the quiet morning when you're drinking coffee and wondering how you're going to make it through another week. That's where God meets you. Not in some distant future when everything is resolved, but right here, right now, in the middle of your actual life.
There's something powerful about the way God provides that we often miss because we're too busy looking ahead. We're so focused on next month's rent, next year's tuition, the car that might break down, the job that might not last, that we forget to see what's already here. You woke up today. You're breathing. There's food somewhere within your reach, steady, daily provision. And I know it doesn't feel like enough when you're afraid, when you're calculating and recalculating, when you're losing sleep over numbers. But God has never promised to show you the entire staircase before you take the first step. He's promised to be the light for your feet, right where you're standing, right now in this moment. When you think about God as your provider, don't picture some distant transaction where you ask and He decides whether you're worthy enough to receive. Picture a Father who knows exactly what you need before you even open your mouth to ask. Picture someone who sees you counting change, who knows the number in your account without you having to explain, who understands the weight of that envelope you're afraid to open, who feels the knot in your stomach when you think about tomorrow. This isn't a God who's waiting to see if you have enough faith before He acts. This is a God who's already acting, already moving, already preparing the way, even when you can't see it yet. Your job isn't to convince Him. Your job isn't to earn it. Your job is simply to trust that the same God who's kept you until this very moment hasn't suddenly decided to abandon you now. He's still here. He's still your provider, and He's asking you to trust Him for today, just today, while He quietly takes care of tomorrow without requiring you to carry its weight right now.
There's a prayer most of us have heard so many times that we've stopped really hearing it. Give us this day our daily bread. We say it quickly, casually, like we're checking a box. But have you ever stopped to think about what that actually means? Daily, not monthly, not yearly, daily. God could have taught us to pray for abundance, for overflow, for enough to last a decade, but He didn't. He taught us to ask for today's portion, today's provision, today's bread. And there's profound wisdom in that, even when it feels uncomfortable, even when everything in us wants to control more than just today. When Jesus taught His followers to pray this way, He wasn't being stingy, He was being intentional. He was showing us how to live without the suffocating weight of tomorrow's anxieties crushing us today. Think about what bread means in your life right now. It's not just literal food, though that's part of it. It's everything you need to sustain yourself today. The money for groceries, the gas to get to work, the ability to keep the lights on, the water running, the basic necessities that allow you to function. It's the small, essential things that we take for granted until they're threatened, until we're not sure if they'll be there tomorrow, until we're lying awake at night wondering how we're going to make it all work. And here's what God is saying through this simple prayer. I've got today. I've got today covered. I know what you need. I see what's required, and I'm asking you to trust me for today, without spending all of today's energy worrying about tomorrow, because tomorrow will have its own portion, its own bread, its own provision that you can't even see yet from where you're standing right now.
This is so hard for us, isn't it? Because we live in a world that tells us to plan, to save, to secure, to control, to make sure we're covered for every possible scenario. And wisdom is good, planning is good, but anxiety isn't planning. Fear isn't preparation. When you're so consumed with what might happen that you can't rest in what is happening, that's not stewardship anymore. That's just suffering twice, once in your imagination and once in reality, if it even happens at all. God's asking you to trust Him for daily bread because He knows that daily trust is what builds unshakable faith. It's easy to trust God when your bank account is full. It's easy to praise Him when everything is secure. But when you're down to just enough for today, when you don't know where tomorrow's provision is coming from, when you have to actually depend on Him instead of your own resources, that's when your faith becomes real, becomes tested, becomes the kind of foundation that nothing can shake. I want you to pause right now and think about something. Everything you needed yesterday, did it come? Maybe not the way you wanted, maybe not with the timing you preferred, maybe not as abundantly as you hoped, but you're here. You made it. You're still standing, and that means God provided. He gave you yesterday's bread. So why would He stop today? Why would the God who's carried you this far suddenly decide you're not worth carrying anymore? He wouldn't. He won't. And this is your invitation to release tomorrow's worries and receive today's peace. Before we continue, I want you to know that you're not just watching a video right now. You're part of something bigger. There are people all over the world, sitting in their own quiet moments, carrying their own silent weights, and finding hope in these words. If this message is touching your heart, would you take just a second to hit that subscribe button? Not for me, but for yourself.
So that tomorrow, when the fear tries to creep back in, you'll have this reminder waiting for you. And in the comments, if you feel comfortable, just type one word that describes what you're feeling right now. Just one word. Because sometimes naming what we feel is the first step toward healing it. We're in this together, and your story matters here.
Favor isn't always loud. It's not always obvious. It doesn't always look like a miracle with a spotlight and a testimony that makes everyone gasp. Sometimes, probably most of the time, favor looks like a small break you didn't expect, a phone call that came at exactly the right moment, a person who showed up when you needed them most, a door that opened when you thought every door was locked. Sometimes favor looks like making it through another day when you didn't think you had the strength to survive it. And I think we miss so much of God's favor because we're looking for something dramatic when He's working in the details, in the small moments, and the quiet provisions that we overlook because we're too focused on what we don't have yet. God's favor in your financial life doesn't mean you'll never struggle. It doesn't mean you'll never have to make hard choices or sacrifice or go without something you want. But it does mean that you'll always have what you truly need, even if it arrives in unexpected ways, even if it doesn't make sense on paper, even if you can't explain how you made it through another month when the math didn't add up. I've seen it happen over and over again. Bills that somehow get paid, food that appears when the pantry seems empty, expenses that get delayed just long enough for provision to arrive, unexpected refunds, forgotten savings, generous friends, opportunities that seem to materialize out of nowhere. This is favor. Quiet, consistent, faithful favor that doesn't announce itself with trumpets, but shows up exactly when you need it most.
But here's what you need to understand about favor. It requires your participation, not your perfection, not your worthiness, not your ability to earn it, but your willingness to stay open, to keep moving forward, to not give up even when you're tired and scared and feel like nothing is working. Favor meets you in motion. It meets you when you're still showing up, still trying, still believing that God hasn't forgotten you, even when it feels like He has. When you wake up tomorrow morning and the situation hasn't changed overnight, favor is what helps you get dressed anyway, what pushes you to keep applying for that job, what gives you the courage to have that difficult conversation, what strengthens you to ask for help when you need it. Favor isn't just about what God does for you, it's also about what God does in you, the way He shapes your character through the waiting,
the way He builds resilience in you through the struggle, the way He teaches you to depend on Him instead of yourself. And maybe you're thinking, but I don't feel favored. I feel forgotten. I understand. When you're in the middle of financial stress, when every day feels like a fight just to survive, it's hard to see favor anywhere. But favor isn't always a feeling. Sometimes it's just a fact that you can't see yet because you're too close to the struggle. Think about it this way. You're still here. You haven't been destroyed by what you've been through. You're still fighting, still hoping, still seeking God even when it's hard. That's not coincidence. That's favor keeping you steady when everything around you feels unstable. That's favor holding you together when you feel like you're falling apart.
Let's talk honestly about the fear, because pretending it doesn't exist doesn't make it go away. Financial anxiety is real. It's not a lack of faith to admit that you're scared, that the worry keeps you up at night, that you've cried over bank statements, that you felt physically sick opening bills. This is real human experience, and God isn't disappointed in you for feeling it. He's not looking down at you thinking you're a failure because you're struggling to trust Him with money. He knows how hard this is. He knows that financial stress affects everything: your sleep, your relationships, your health, your peace, your ability to think clearly about anything else. He knows, and He's not asking you to pretend everything is fine when it's not. He's asking you to bring your fear to Him instead of carrying it alone. Here's the thing about trust that nobody tells you. It's not the absence of fear. Trust is what you do with the fear. It's the choice you make when you're afraid, but you move forward anyway. When you're uncertain, but you take the next step. When you don't know how it's going to work out, but you believe that somehow it will. Trust isn't a feeling you wait to have. It's a decision you make over and over again, sometimes minute by minute, especially when everything in your circumstances is screaming at you to panic, to control, to fix everything by yourself right now. And this is where faith becomes more than just a concept we talk about on Sunday mornings. This is where faith becomes the actual foundation you stand on when the ground feels like it's crumbling beneath your feet.
But I want to be clear about something important, and please hear this because it matters. Trusting God with your finances doesn't mean you become passive. It doesn't mean you stop looking for work, stop making budgets, stop being wise with what you have. Trust isn't the opposite of action. Trust is what gives you the strength to keep acting even when you're afraid, even when it feels hopeless, even when every logical part of your brain is telling you there's no way through this. God doesn't do everything for you. He works with you. He opens doors, but you have to walk through them. He provides opportunities, but you have to take them. He gives you wisdom, but you have to apply it. This partnership between your faith and your action is where miracles happen. Not in some magical realm where you do nothing and everything falls into your lap, but in the real world where you're scared and tired and overwhelmed, but you keep showing up anyway because you believe God is with you in it. And when the anxiety comes back, because it will, it always does, you don't have to feel guilty about it. You don't have to shame yourself for being human. Instead, notice it, acknowledge it. Say out loud, I'm afraid right now, and that's okay. And then, with that fear still present, make one small choice that reflects trust instead of terror. Pay that bill you've been avoiding. Make that phone call. Ask for help. Take one step, even a tiny one, in the direction of faith. Because trust isn't built in one giant leap. It's built in small, consistent choices over time. Choices you make even when your hands are shaking, especially when your hands are shaking.
I want to create something here that's more than just a channel. I want this to be a community where we're honest about our struggles, where we don't have to pretend we have it all together, where we can admit we're afraid and still hold on to hope together. If you've been helped by this message, would you share it with someone who needs to hear it? Maybe it's a friend who's been struggling in silence, a family member who's been carrying this weight alone, someone you love who needs to know they're not forgotten by God. And if you have specific prayer requests about your financial situation, leave them in the comments. We may not know each other personally, but we can pray for each other, and there's power in that kind of community. You don't have to carry this alone anymore. Let us carry it with you. You know what most people never talk about? The miracles that don't make good stories. The provision that came without drama, without a clear before and after, without a moment you can point to and say, that's when God showed up. We love the big testimonies, the ones where someone was down to their last dollar and then suddenly received an unexpected check in the mail, the ones with clear villains and heroes and happy endings.
But most of God's provision isn't like that. Most of it is quiet, almost invisible, the kind of thing you only notice when you look back and realize you made it through somehow, that you're still here, even though by all logic you shouldn't be, that something or someone was holding you together when you felt like you were falling apart. These are the silent testimonies, the ones where you don't know exactly how you survived that season, but you did. The ones where the money stretched further than it should have, where somehow you had just enough at the end of each month, even though the math never quite added up, where crisis after crisis came and you kept weathering them even though you felt completely unprepared.
These don't make viral videos. They don't get shared in church services, but they're just as much evidence of God's faithfulness as any dramatic miracle, maybe even more so, because they required sustained trust over time instead of one moment of faith. It's easy to trust God for one day when you see a miracle. It's much harder to trust Him for 6 months of nothing changing, 6 months of barely making it, 6 months of quiet provision that feels more like survival than blessing. If you look at your own life honestly, you'll probably find these testimonies everywhere. Times when you should have lost everything, but you didn't. Moments when you were certain you couldn't go on, but somehow you found the strength to take one more step. Seasons when you felt completely alone, but looking back, you can see the fingerprints of grace all over it, holding you, guiding you, providing for you in ways you couldn't even recognize at the time. Maybe it was a friend who called at exactly the right moment. Maybe it was a small, unexpected income that arrived just when you needed it most. Maybe it was nothing dramatic at all, just the simple fact that you woke up today, that you're still fighting, that you haven't given up even though you've had every reason to. That's a testimony. That's proof that God has been with you, even in the silence, even in the struggle, even when you couldn't feel His presence. And I think God works this way on purpose, because if every provision came with fireworks and fanfare, we'd learn to trust the miracles instead of trusting Him. We'd become addicted to the dramatic moments and miss the daily faithfulness that's actually more reliable than any single miracle. God is teaching us to recognize His hand in the ordinary, to see His provision in the mundane, to find His presence in the quiet persistence of grace that keeps showing up day after day after day without announcement, without applause, without recognition.
This kind of provision doesn't make headlines, but it makes disciples. It makes people who know God not because of what He did once, but because of who He's been consistently, faithfully, quietly throughout their entire lives. So here we are. You've listened to this far, which means you're still looking for something, still hoping for something, still believing that maybe today could be different. And I want you to know that your hope isn't foolish. Your faith isn't naive. The fact that you're still here, still seeking God, still trying to trust Him despite everything you've been through, that's not weakness. That's extraordinary courage. Because it would be so much easier to give up, to decide that faith doesn't work, that God doesn't care, that you're on your own. But you haven't done that. You're still here, and that matters more than you know. Surrendering your financial needs to God doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It doesn't mean you pretend they don't matter, or that you're not allowed to want security and stability and peace. Surrender isn't resignation. It's not giving up. It's giving over. It's taking everything you've been carrying and saying, God, I can't control this. I've tried. I've worried. I've planned. I've done everything I know how to do, and I'm still afraid. So I'm giving this to you. Not because I don't care, but because I care so much that it's destroying me to keep carrying it alone. That's surrender. Taking your clenched fists and slowly, painfully opening them to release what you've been gripping so tightly, trusting that God will catch what you let go of.
And when you surrender, when you really surrender, something shifts inside you. Not necessarily in your circumstances, not immediately anyway, but in you. There's a lightness that comes when you stop pretending you're in control, when you stop exhausting yourself trying to manage everything, when you finally admit that you need help and you're willing to receive it. This doesn't mean tomorrow will be easy. It doesn't mean all your problems will disappear, but it means you won't have to face them alone anymore. It means God will carry what you can't, provide what you lack, strengthen what's weak, and be present in what's painful. And sometimes that's enough. Sometimes His presence is the provision, more valuable than any amount of money, because it's what actually sustains you when everything else fails. Today, right now, wherever you are, whatever you're facing, I want you to take a breath. Just one deep breath, letting all the tension and worry release with your exhale. And then say this, out loud if you can, in your heart if you can't. God, I trust you with today. Just today. I don't know about tomorrow, and I don't have to. Today, right now, I trust that you see me, you know what I need, and you haven't forgotten me. That's all. That's the prayer. No complicated theology, no perfect words, just honest, simple trust for one more day. And then tomorrow, you'll wake up and say it again, and the day after that, and the day after that. One day at a time, one prayer at a time, one moment of trust at a time, until you look back and realize that all those individual days added up to a life of faith that carried you through everything you thought would destroy you. You're going to be okay. Not because your circumstances are going to magically change, but because God is with you in them, providing not just what you need to survive, but what you need to actually live, to breathe, to hope again. Rest now. He's got today.